Hi, this is Cheryl Heckel coming to you with my report on Eric Carle. Here we have a wonderful picture of Eric Carle, who was born in Syracuse, New York in 1929 to German immigrants. When he was 6 years old, his parents took him back to their hometown in Germany. Eric hated the discipline of his German schools, and he was very sad and confused and longed to return to America. But when it became apparent he would not return, he decided he would become a bridge builder. And that's what he's based a lot of his work on. He graduated from the Academy der Bildenden Künste. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong without a German accent. But it was a very difficult art school, and he really wanted to come back to the United States. It was 17 years before Eric Carle was able to return to the United States. It was a very difficult period of time for him, but it gave him inspiration for his books. In 1952, he was able to move back to America. He came with only $40 in his pocket and a portfolio. Almost immediately, he got a job in New York and caught the author's got involved in advertising, and an author caught his eye and asked Carle to illustrate one of his books. This being his first book was Brown Bear, What Do You See? That was the first book that he illustrated. Eric Carle uses a collage style that includes hand-painted papers that are cut and layered to create lively and brilliant images that appear in his books. These images are vivacious and have brilliant colors that attract people of all ages, especially young children. Eric Carle's books allow children to experience the world and nature. His drawings and stories appeal to children's emotions, ideas, and creativity. And he opens up the world of reading and to education in an exciting way. Eric Carle started his career with the Brown Bear, What Do You See illustrations, and he used this as a springboard for his astonishing career. As an artist, Eric Carle strives to bring children more joy in school than he had, and he says that, quote, "I am fascinated by the period in a child's life when he or she for the first time leaves home to go to school. I should like my books to bridge that great divide." And there we go back to his original childhood dream of building a bridge from Germany back to the United States, which he always wanted to bring his grandmother across that bridge to the United States. After a while, Eric Carle decided on writing his own book. His first book was 1, 2, 3 to the Zoo, which we see right here. And then that led to an even more famous The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which just celebrated their 40th anniversary and had a delightful pop-up book that was created to honor the 40th anniversary of Eric Carle's work in The Very Hungry Caterpillar. He got his inspiration for this particular book while he was growing up. He loved to take walks through the woods with his father, and he fondly recalls, quote, "He turned over a rock and showed me the little creatures that scurried and slithered about," end quote. And on these walks, he filled himself with stories of wonder and discovery. Eric Carle learned to love nature, giving us another clue as to where he finds his idea. Eric Carle says, quote, "I try to recall that feeling when I write my books," end quote. Sometimes Eric Carle's books came from just fooling around. At least that's how he describes the inception of his very famous book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Quote, "I playfully punched a hole in a stack of papers. I thought a bookworm at work. Not enough for a book, but nevertheless a beginning," end quote. Eventually, Eric Carle submitted the story about the bookworm who became changed into a green worm named Willie. His editor liked the idea But she suggested, how about a caterpillar? So Eric Carle's most famous book was born. By the way, Eric Carle already knows a caterpillar emerges from a chrysalis, not a cocoon. So don't bother writing to tell him. Carle has explained many times that this famous mistake crept into the book. As one of the pages reads, come out of your cocoon, but come out of your chrysalis, which would have been proper, was not the way the book would have been appropriate for small children to read. The most important part of developing books, Eric Carle believes, is working with the editors to revise it. He says you have doubts, you hate it, you love it, you discuss it with your editors, you change it, and finally at one point you know it's just right. And after that it goes very quickly. That's where the Art for the Tiny Seed book came. It only took 2 weeks for him to create the tiny seed. Eric Carle also accredits his uncle August for ideas. He would, when he was a child, ask his uncle to tell him stories, and his uncle would say, peering over his glasses, quote, "First you have to wind up my thinking machine." And he would make some whirling noises, and then Eric Carle would shout, "Halt, I have a story for you." So he likes his Uncle August to answer to where these stories come from. They come from your thinking machine. All you have to do is wind it up. Eric Carle now resides in North Carolina and in the Florida Keys with his wife. Eric Carle concludes his reasoning behind writing his books, quote unquote, "With many of my books I attempt to bridge the gap between home and school. To me, some home represents or should represent warmth, security, toys, holding hands. Being at school is a strange new place for a child. Will it be a happy place? There are new people, a teacher, classmates. Will they be friendly? I believe the passage from home to school is the second biggest trauma of childhood. This first is, of course, being born. Indeed, in both cases, we leave a place of warmth and protection for one that is unknown. The unknown often brings fear with it. In my books, I try to counteract this fear, to replace it with a positive message. I believe that children are naturally creative and eager to learn. I want to show them that learning is fascinating and fun." Eric Carle has a myriad of books. We have The Artist Who Painted a Blue Horse, The Very Busy Spider, The Mixed Up Chameleon, Hello Red Fox, and as you can see, Red Fox is actually green. Over here we have The 10 Little Rubber Ducks, which is a wonderful counting book for young children, The Grouchy Ladybug, Animals that takes them through the ocean, the Mr. Seahorse book, which is one of my children's favorite, and then of course the book that started it out all, Brown Bear, What Do You See? Again, this is Cheryl Heckel on my report on Eric Carle. Thank you so much.